And welcome to the podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Refine Live podcast. Today we have a special guest on here, but I don't know him yet. But I've heard that we're going to be best friends before the end of this show.
We just become best friends, yeah.
Oh my gosh, we're for sure doing karate in the garage. We got Jared Blake over here. He's dressed up as Hardy today. Look at your glasses.
I feel like I had to put on some weight and grow my hair out a little longer.
Yeah, it's a process.
Can we go back to Mark Wahlberg? I'm not sure I like this new Hardy thing you got going on.
I don't know if I've ever seen Mark Wahlberg in glasses.
He might.
Sunglasses, it's the same thing. And over here, we got Jeff Suter, the man, the myth, the legend. He's always at the control desk because, boy, he keeps us under control. So introduce us to, it's Nick, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Introduce us to Nick.
All right, today we got the marvelous Nick Alfano, the owner and creator of the program. I watched this man give a keynote just a couple days ago, and he knocked my socks off. I was ready to pay him right there on the spot. But, man, he is helping men all over the country, men that are specifically entrepreneurs all over the country. And, frankly, he's helping them get their life refined AF by making them men instead of little boys.
Come on with it.
Yeah,
I
buddy.
love this.
Ooh, man, he's got his job cut out for him.
Big time.
There's a whole lot of people
Country's
out
full
there
of
that
them.
need to-
Depends on which
Entire
generation.
new generation.
But I don't feel like it.
I don't feel.
Yeah, so ultimately, man, tell us where you're from and how you ended up where you're at, because I think that's a big piece of your story is what led you to where you're at today, right?
Yeah, so originally born and raised in Biloxi, Mississippi. Spent about 8 years there, and then my dad was forced out to the West Coast to SoCal to kind of like set up shop. He was working in like fiber optics at the time, and for whatever reason they were expanding that way. So he went out there a year ahead of us, and his version of setup was shop was find a younger, hotter version of my mom. So we moved out there. We moved out there a year later, like any responsible parent. We moved out during the summer to start new school. So we moved out July, and they were divorced by October, and so single mom in it for a while. And when you grow up in the South, I don't know about y'all, but it was a little normal to beat your kids back then, like to put hands on your kids. It was like not as frowned upon as, say, like the bluest of all blues, liberal California. So when you get to Cali and your mom's still putting hands on you and you show up to school, they don't take a liking to that. Yeah, matter of fact, they're mandated to run it up the flagpole. So it was an interesting scenario whereby, and I get my gift of gab from my mom. So essentially the pattern was I would show up with some sort of like actual physical mark you could see. I was middle of three, we're all a year apart, and, we're convinced at this point, I was 9, 10, 11 years old by now, that, like, I got out of line, I got smacked. That's the way it works, right? Like, I'm literally telling my teacher, like, what's the deal? And so teacher runs it up the flagpole, they end up bringing mom down, mom talks to me and principal, we're all in a room together, and then every once in a while, even police would have to be there, because there were some pretty severe beatings. And she would talk her way out of it, and then what do you think would happen when I got home?
Get beat.
Come on now. Like, so I'm like, so then it got to the point where I'm like pleading.
Mom, I just showed up like this.
Hide him, mom, hide him. Hit me here. Like, quit, don't mess with here. You know what I mean? Give me turtlenecks or something. I don't know what to tell you. So that basically led to some pretty crazy times, and eventually I hit puberty. I was a freshman, sophomore maybe. And I was 14, 15 years old. Got a little bass, say it with your chest, and decided to do 1 or 2 curls. Thought I was like a man. Mom comes to put hands on me. I push her through a sliding glass door. And the next day she left a note that says, Nicholas, my full name, has shown me that I can no longer discipline my babies, and I'm out. And she walked away from all 3 of her kids and didn't see her again. So I was homeless from 14 on. My brother's a junior. My brother's 1 year younger. My sister's 1 year older. My brother went and lived with my dad. He was in New Mexico at the time. Again, his fiber optic job was just throwing him all over the states. And he went and like lived with dad. My sister went and kind of did her thing, and I literally lived out of a backpack from 14 on until about my senior year. Around 17, 18, I lived on a good buddy of mine. His parents kind of figured out what was going on, so I lived on his couch. So I wasn't homeless, like, in the sense of the word. I did spend more than I'd like to count nights in parks and park benches and curbs, but for the most part, I was just a professional couch surfer. Again, I had the gift of gab, so I had buddies, and it's interesting if you at some point in my life, I ended up going to a counselor, and the same way some people collect shoes, like I collect backpacks to this day. I'm pushing like 60, 75 backpacks, and it was because that was like my Linus blanket, because I had like basic toiletries on me at all times, because I didn't know where I would land, like whose couch. So as long as I had some like deodorant, cologne, toothbrush, and some drawers, like I'm good. And so that was kind of my MO, and use that big chip on your shoulder mentality to do some big shit. I ended up going to college on a full scholarship between soccer and my GPA, and And then I put myself through law school, and basically every single thing I built 2 8-figure companies, was literally like a big fuck you. Like, you left me for dead, so can I cuss on your podcast?
Fuck no. What are you thinking?
Yeah,
Vinny's not allowed to. Me and Jared let it ride.
let it drop. All right. So yeah, I literally and that's one of those things for a lot of guys I've noticed over the years. Now I mentor, coach, whatever you want to call it, the male entrepreneur, and the chip on your shoulder, like hustler mentality, will get you pretty far until it doesn't, Right. And so, since then I've just done a lot of deep work on myself. Been with the same girl for 24 years, but I cheated on her for 17, like an absolute shithead. Lost my virginity to her, so like one of my many stories to go out there and experience the world was like, how do I know she's the one, So, yeah, man, I was just not a good dude, not the best husband or the best father. Always made really good money, like 7 figures plus, just being a hustler. But one day I was separated from my wife, and I had just slept with like a random girl off Instagram, kicked her out or whatever you want to call it. And I just looked at the guy in the mirror, and I fucking lost it. Like, just cried for like it felt like 2 or 3 hours. I don't know how long it really was. And a gentleman knew what was going on, a fellow like soccer dad of a buddy of mine. I kind of figured out what was going on with my wife and I. And he told me to go check out this guy named Garrett White down in San Diego, California. This thing called WarriorCon 3. And I never believed in this self-development, like woo-woo shit. Like, if you would have told me 5 years ago I would journal and meditate every day, I'd probably punch you in the mouth. Just wasn't my jam. And so he said one sentence from one stage, and it just completely flipped my world upside down. And since then, I created this thing called the Truth Agreement. I was a lawyer at the time, so I created this contract with myself to never tell a lie, and it was 5 years on December 12th, 2018. So we're pushing 5.5 years as of this recording, and I just walk men through like never lying again, and then really open up what's possible for them. Again, I've built some big stuff, so it always translates into helping them grow their business. But the reality is we're just out there creating better dudes. I'm just helping dudes be better dudes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so tell these fellas, this the man in the mirror part really, when you gave your keynote, that part really struck me. But once you start developing these entrepreneurs, these male entrepreneurs, the pillars in which they're going to learn the way life is supposed to go.
Yeah.
And they're all F's.
Yeah, I'm a big
give
F
that
guy.
to us.
Yeah. So in this order, by design, faith, family, fitness, and then finance. Because most guys come to me and are like, oh, Nick, I want to make $1 million, bro. And I'm like, cool. When's the last time you had sex with your wife? When's the last time you showed up to your kid's soccer game and put the phone down? When's the last time you had a little bit of discipline in terms of like how you're showing up for your kids? So all that to say, like, it kind of blows them back because they just want the framework, the hack, the blueprint, the script, the copy, the funnel, the shit that. First of all, anything I've ever trained anybody on like that, you can find on YouTube right now. It's all out there. Yeah. We have access to everything, but we're in our own way. So like. Our thesis is pretty simple. It's businessman over business plan, because if it was as easy as just going out and getting the next hot funnel or copywriter or, marketing strategy, everyone would be crushing life, bro. And it's not that easy. It's literally like, it's called a program for a reason, because I'm a big neuroscience guy. And until you rewrite your program, which is your subconscious behavior, you're done. You're never going to win. So it's really like what we call doing the deep work, which is the work at the subconscious level, and not just putting some Post-its on a wall and jumping up and down and saying I'm going to crush today because I'm the man. Like, affirmations are absolute dog shit unless you can actually implant them at a subconscious level, which I show people how to do. So yeah, there's just so many things that you don't know what you don't know, and I didn't know what I didn't know, and I feel like now it's just my obligation to just teach as many dudes as possible, try to help them sidestep some landmines and kind of collapse time on what they say they want, even though most are very unclear on what that looks like. So
24 years married.
Yeah.
Cheating 17 of them.
Yeah. With all that, which there's so much I want to ask you, because we had a very similar life. I was a professional couch surfer from 14 on as well.
There you go.
Got my first house the day I graduated. Yeah,
king size deep couch sitting.
Yeah. The good thing
he was 500 pounds at this time.
Yeah, well, about 370 my senior year of high school. But when I laid on the couch, you could still lay on top of me and felt like you was on the couch. Great,
Yeah.
But with that being said, when you were talking to your wife and you were, confessing and letting her know all the things you did, had you been caught already, or was you going to her and saying, "Hey, I gotta let you know something"? For 17 years, I've been doing this.
Yeah, so the pattern was, and this is the scariest part, and forgive me if I'm like a little bit of placating here, because I've told this so many times now, I'm almost numb to it, which is sad. When I tell it from stage, and a lot of times I have my wife right next to me, like I can't even stop crying.
Yeah.
It's become a bit of our, again, that's how we've walked a lot of couples through infidelity as a result. So the pattern essentially over 17 years, first of all, for anybody watching this, they always know. They always know. So the pattern was she would catch me. I would talk my way back into the house, and then she would take me back, and then, but she never, the story was this. She would forgive me, but then I would still live as though I was a cheater, whereby she's checking my phone, she's going through all my stuff. So then my story was what? Well, if I'm going to be treated like this, then I might as well be, right? And so I know a lot of men that get stuck in that vicious cycle. The craziest thing about this, though, for my men watching is most of the damage is actually done to my babies. Because at the time, as we push closer to like 16, 17 year of cheating, my kids are now teenagers. My daughters are 21, 19, and my son's 17. So all that to say, they were dating towards the end of like all the culmination of all of this. And so what do you think happened to them? Like they dated a dude, and then dudes do what? Right? By default. But the sad thing is that was their story. Like, so they now have a story that all guys cheat. All guys want is sex. And typically that gives the guy an out, and mom took daddy back so many times, so they took their... So I set my daughters up for perpetual heartbreak with my selfish actions. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a huge part of my story when we go in and talk at schools and stuff, is that the biggest thing for me that made me start changing my ways was the realization of my daughters.
100%.
It wasn't what I did or what I was doing to anyone else. It was to realize that my daughters were either going to grow up and become just like me, or they were going to grow up
and marry you.
Someone just
Dude, you just hit my favorite. So this is my number one sentence when I talk about family that gets quoted all the time. Your son will become you, and your daughter will marry you. Yeah. And if you say that a couple times and then you stare in the mirror and you don't get to work, shame on you.
Right,
Simple as.
My view on it then became, I have to become the man that's going to be really hard for them to find.
Oh, yeah.
I have to become that man that like, and I'm proud to say that I think I'm getting there at least, because like my daughter sent out like this TikTok not long ago when that was going around about, oh, you don't know how to do that? My daddy can. You don't know how to do that? You don't know how to do this? Well, my daddy can.
I remember when you told me that story.
And I was so proud when I saw it go out. I was like, yeah, you got a lot to live up to.
Yeah, like, good luck. How old is she?
She was 19 when that came out.
Okay.
But my kids are roughly the same age as yours.
Yeah.
He's only got
23.
6 of them.
Yeah. 24, 23, 21, and 22, just barely off. Because 2 of them were with my wives and 4 of them were mine. And then a 20-year-old or 19-year-old and 17-year-old.
Yeah, all similar ranges, yeah.
But yeah, then the boys in the military, kind of same sort of mindset, Air Force.
Okay.
And then my youngest son is eventually supposedly taking over my wife and my company.
Nice.
Going to structural engineer. But the girls, like you said, though, you notice patterns in them, the people that they're attracted to.
Like, when you hear about like daddy issues, like we would exploit that when we were in our idiot age. But it's 100% accurate. It's like if you have some unresolved things, or your dad's showing up, like you can almost peg how their dad's showing up or not showing up by who they are attracted to.
And I think you would agree with this. That was that combination of realizing, hey, the things that made it easy for you when you were in your 20s, the things that you were exploiting, were the things that you were now setting up in your daughter.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, crap.
Jared is also my wife's husband. Yeah. Because he knows how to fix everything in the house.
This got weird real quick. So.
Yeah.
All I had was
he had no.
Because I want to see where it was going. So.
He fixes it like when
I'm doing this now.
When the trash compactor goes out, he fixes it. When stuff needs to be hung on the walls and we got to find studs and stuff, he fixes it. And then whenever I'm gone, he fixes it. And it's no, but that's our joke. I always say, I said, yeah, you're my wife's husband. I said, I'm the guy that lives with her, but you get to do all the stuff. I'm not good with tools and stuff. I'm good at lifting weight. I can be a great labor hand. But I have no clue how to
turn a wrench.
Do this stuff.
I'll give you.
I can do auto body work all day long. My dad was auto body repairman, so I learned.
I'll give you the most embarrassing story of all time.
I can't do nothing with tools.
Of me and a tool. You ready for this? Bear with me. I was putting together some weights in my garage. I had a buddy over, and he's actually from South Carolina. We were in Cali at the time, so he's from like Greenville area. Or, he'll kill me actually if I say the wrong city. Columbia possibly. All that to say, I'm putting something together, and we had done it wrong. And I said, shit. He said, what? I said, I can't even tell the story live because this is how embarrassing it is. There's a pre-frame, but I'll just leave it with this. I said, I don't know what to do because I don't have my loosening drill. All I have is this fucking tightening drill. And he comes over. I feel better instantly. I said, I don't know what to do. Call it a day. We're done. And he was like, I don't even know. And he comes over and he pushes the button. But hold on, for the longest time, I know drills do go both ways, but I thought this drill was messed up. So I'm not as ignorant as like the button. But to him, the way he'll tell this story till the day he dies is like, my man doesn't know enough about tools that he just came over and went boop. And I looked at him, I was like, it's not going to work. This drill's just messed up. I need but the other drill has no power, so I only use it when I have to. All that. And it worked. And so, like, I will never live that story down because he will tell it that way for his entire life.
That's awesome.
So now when he comes over, he's like, we getting work? We doing work? He's like, I got my loosening and my tightening drill. I'm like, bro, we're done. We're
This
done.
screwdriver only goes one way.
It,
I feel
That's
better.
why each bag comes with two.
That's it.
No, I feel better now.
Yeah.
I feel great.
So I have a lot of halfway put together shit at my house.
Dude, so you came right out of the gate with kind of summing up everything that we talk about, like most of the time. We talk about the new generation. We talk about this generation. Talking about the different people. When say it again for me though. The
Faith, family, fitness, then finance. Yeah.
faith, family, fitness, finance. When no one tells you that, it takes you a long time to figure that out.
Yeah.
Because if you don't figure out how to put them in order, you only pursue one. And I don't know how that works or why it is, but unless faith comes first, there is no family dynamic the way that it needs to be.
The way that you nailed it, the way it needs to be. And by the way, y'all in the South got it right because you don't see this family dynamic. The further west you go,
no,
it doesn't exist.
You don't. But without the faith first, it puts you in a position where you're only pursuing either family or fitness or finance.
Yeah.
You can't really pursue all three of those without putting them in order. Like one of the things that me and my wife almost got a divorce a couple years ago, or a few years ago at this point. But the reality of it was the reality that I wasn't putting faith first. I was putting her first. And by putting her first, it didn't fulfill the way it needed to.
No.
And so then you don't treat her the way
describe
you
putting her
should.
first, though.
Well, exactly. You think that you're putting her first.
Yeah.
But
You're putting a
then
lot of
you're
pressure
putting
on
a
her.
lot of right. You're putting this pressure on her that she can't live up to.
Yep.
Because she's not your God. It can't work that way.
So that whole sentence, happy wife, happy life, I tell people all the time,
Yes.
like, if you subscribe to that, it's going to be hard for you because, to your point,
Absolutely.
you're putting so much onus on her. So now you're basically
Right.
saying my happiness is dependent upon you
Right.
being happy.
And what's the
She's
first
already
thing?
responsible for her happiness.
And what's the
yeah.
first thing that you lose when you put that much pressure on her?
Yourself.
I mean, you lose the house, but...
Like you brought it up about when's the last time you had sex with your wife.
Oh, 100%.
You start
The
losing
power
that.
dynamic. So there's the masculine, feminine, like, dance that has to happen, but make no mistake, once babies are born, if you stop showing up the way you're supposed to, like, that woman will castrate that fucking house. Like,
Absolutely.
she will take all the power, but she doesn't want to. She does not want to sit in her masculine energy. She wants you to show the F
But
up.
the issue is
But you lose that, yeah.
You lose it because you're not willing to do the work that you
Oh,
need
yeah,
to.
100%.
Because at that point when those babies show up, what you have to take on as a father, as a husband, and as a man,
Yeah.
it goes way, way up. Way, way up. And if you're not willing to take on all that responsibility, that will flip. The power will flip the way that you're talking about. You know, and then like you said, so you pursued finance. You see tons of guys at the gym that they're fit as hell, but like you're talking about their personal life.
They ain't connected to
and
nobody.
there's not one
Not connected with the
necessarily.
spouse. Not connected with the babies. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
That's what it takes to have a six pack. You know, you got to forget
Yeah.
about everybody
Yeah,
else,
just you and them abs, boy.
especially the kitchen. You
Yeah.
got to
But
leave
I,
that
mean, I
out.
think it's great that you're looking at. You've got it tuned into those.
Yeah, and by the way,
that
we call it 4 domains, 8 elements. So each domain has 2 elements. So faith, for example, is on 100% your spiritual connection, but also your faith in yourself, like mindset, like your
Yeah,
belief in yourself. Because most guys are running around with this crazy talk track. You know, like we're so quick to forgive like your buddy, but like self-forgiveness, like forgiving yourself is
dude,
damn near
absolutely.
impossible.
We
So
talk about
I'll give
this.
you 8 chances, but if I fuck up, bro, it's like I will mother F myself for 2 weeks straight,
Right.
and then I'll be down this little spiral of no
Yeah.
productivity, which then only perpetuates that
But
belief.
it's also
so.
why I don't need you telling me what I did wrong because I already know it and I'm already beating myself up about it. Been beating myself up about it.
But all right, so I'll push back on that and say we actually have a concept where we assign everybody a swim buddy, which we took from the Navy SEALs, and their job is to pull your card every week. You do a return report and you report to your swim buddy on the things you said you were going to do, and their job is to hold up a mirror. And so yes. We would constantly point out not so much that you did wrong, but the fact that you're playing small and you said you were going to fix the hinge on the fence for your wife by Friday. Here we are on Sunday morning.
I called Jared twice.
You know what I'm saying? To come do it, and he didn't do it. So.
and I,
You see what I'm saying? So, I just think there's a healthy way to get your card pulled, and I think guys don't live in
For
enough
sure.
circles where they get their card pulled. because it's easy to stay in a group with all your buddies, and it's like, hey, you buy my bullshit and I'll buy yours, all right? And we'll never really hold each other accountable, but we'll also never grow. But it's okay. You see what I'm saying?
No, I totally agree with that. But that also.
But it's triggering if it's done the wrong way, is what I'm saying.
Absolutely. For my life, I sometimes forget all the things that I put in that. I have that guy.
Yeah.
You have to put certain people in your life like that. You know what I mean?
But guys are scared to do that.
A lot are.
Maybe not in this room.
I mean, if you don't have a dude doing it for you, your wife is gonna.
Yeah.
And it's gonna hurt way more
exactly.
when she does it.
But for a lot of times, because until you learn how to communicate that with your wife, like my wife and I have some really rough conversations where she pulls my car. And until you learn how to receive that, it comes across as an attack. Like a personal attack. And then where we at? You know what I mean?
I think also in that is when you have the friend and you know, Jared and now Jeff, you know, we talk a lot too, and a lot more now, but, you know, as we've become better and better friends over the last couple of years. But Jared's a guy I know that if I am having an issue with my wife, I can call him because he'll look at it from her perspective too.
Yeah, have to.
And he'll say to me, he's like, well, I'm not going to say you're wrong, but I ain't going to say you're right either.
You're kind of being a dum-dum.
Yeah. So, he's definitely said, no, you're wrong about that. I mean, he's definitely put me in place before. And I think you do need that. And I've had to be that, you know, that side of it for him too. And you always listen and you let them say everything they feel and everything, you know, up front. And I think, you know, guys, for so long, we never had that. Mm-hmm. We didn't take that in. We didn't have somebody. It was always just like it's
taboo. It's
just
bury
it down. Don't talk about it, nothing else. So knowing now that you can do that, I think it makes you a way better man, makes you a way stronger man whenever you can.
But that's vulnerability, and vulnerability is so taboo for men because vulnerability equals weakness, or so it's been said. So, you know, creating, and that's what we've created is this like container, not for some victim mentality bullshit, but for you to actually be like, hey, extreme ownership, I shit the bed this week, like someone needs to hold me accountable. That's a completely different vibe than like,
love that.
You know, Biden and the economy and inflation, and I can't seem to grow my business, and my wife won't sleep with me because you show up like a bitch, bro. No wonder. Like, get your shit together. It's as simple as, bro. Take them. And this isn't ever about like dunking on your wife, like you know, like don't go in there and flex, but you know, it's got to be 50-50, and there's certain times where she needs you to pull the masculine card out and fucking use it. And so many guys are just. Absolutely. I mean, emasculated in this country.
So we're probably as this episode keeps going, we're probably going to get a lot of comments back because we know how people are about certain things. But like, so
be ready.
What you're hitting on there,
you and everything.
What you're hitting on there, like my wife brings up on a regular basis to other women. She's like, you know, the Bible says to submit to your husband. She's like, and what everyone wants to miss about that is we don't discuss what it is your husband's supposed to be being. And if you actually accomplish everything that God asks of you as a husband to do, any woman out there will gladly submit to that person.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you're providing in a way and you're giving in a way that's just, it's a tough job.
Oh, yeah.
It's a really tough job to do it right. And the reality for me and my wife now, when I don't see her submitting to me, I now question what am I doing
your actions
wrong.
first. You see, and
I
that's
start questioning what am I doing wrong?
Step one, hold up a mirror. Step one, hold up a mirror. Step one, hold up a mirror.
Because I know if I'm doing things right, she's quick to give in to me.
Yeah,
she's quick to follow me if I'm doing things right. But if I'm not, she's gonna stand back. And the same thing when you talk about like sex and stuff. I don't know what it is other than sitcoms that taught us that we could stop dating our wives once we got married. But if you want to get laid, you have to go back to the same method.
Courting and get your car washed and take a shower and put in some effort.
Let me tell you what I did
we all remember day one. Day one was like, I'm ready. I'm fucking ready, bro.
Last night, I got home from my show last night. I got in the shower. I got smelling good, buddy. And I went in and I got my favorite pair of bikini drawers that I got, little snakeskin action. I put those bad boys on and I had my phone. I went, I've been really trying. I come walking out of the bathroom. I was freshly shaven up, boy. And then, I mean, 2 or 3 minutes later, we were watching the show. It was great. No, but I mean, you know, I'm just saying I put the smooth move on her last night, and I don't mean, you know, the X-Lax either. I mean, I got it. I mean, it was a good night.
3 minutes.
I mean, you got young kids, so it's
yeah, 3 minutes is all you get.
That's it.
With those young kids, that's something that people don't talk about very often either. Is that how much those children will start to rule over your life and your relationship with your wife.
So if you don't be intentional and set time aside, it's like you actually have to. I tell my guys this to have the young kids. You actually have to like put sex on the calendar, and that's rough. You know what I mean? And so
people don't like thinking about it that way.
Yeah,
but
like,
if you don't,
well, it's not intentional. Well, good luck then. You know what I mean? Yeah. So Yeah.
I feel like we caught a lot of hate on one of our relationship episodes when we started saying we needed to put that stuff on the calendar.
That was
I feel
just
like
that was just when you were talking about dates. We weren't even talking about sex.
Yeah.
We were just talking
People
about
were
you need to
going
schedule
crazy.
time with your wife, just like you would schedule time in your business.
We have
People were
you
like,
have to do a date night every week, and you have to post your proof. You have to show your work in our group. It's just mandatory.
come on
You
with
better date your wife, or we got a problem.
I mean, I think men hold men accountable as a have to. Yeah, it's a must in life today.
So I'm telling you,
Well,
my,
I think
my
they
biggest
did
issue.
before, but it was different, and I think that's the issue is that
Because everyone's so
life
soft
got
now.
easier.
Now, if you hold me accountable, I'm triggered.
Well, not only that, but like you were
Okay, guy.
When you had to go out and you had to hunt for what
Yep.
was going to be for dinner that night, guys were holding you accountable for what you needed to do.
Yeah.
Well, that all changed, and now we can order it, and have it delivered to us. So then, what are you supposed to be doing as a man now? The role as a man has changed as well.
Well,
And-
the introduction of women we're on the school system. It's like 85% women in terms of teachers, especially in the K through 5. So you've got female energy basically telling these boys, and then you've got, of course, everything else we can go on and on with this left versus right madness, but you've got the world essentially telling you it's okay this is okay also, victimhood, it's not your fault, you're special, everyone's special, participation trophy, don't get too crazy, don't be too aggressive, because that's toxic masculinity. So most guys, to your point, when you guys, right when I walked in here, said you got to grab a whole demographic, a whole new generation of soft-ass men. That's why this country is where it's at, and so there's an interesting.
Doesn't it go back in time to every generation that's fallen is because the men,
Yeah, what's that saying? It's like
the men
good.
become feminine.
Yeah, hard
the men-
times create good.
Yeah, hard times create strong men.
Yeah,
strong men create easy times. Easy times create
weak men. Yeah, and the weak men create hard times. Then round and round we go, and that's what we're seeing right now. You're seeing this cyclical evolution of we're kind of in trouble right now.
But like
So,
every single mega power that fell is when the men became feminine
Yeah.
or more feminine. Then that's when when Rome fell.
It is interesting to see what the change will be, because I also watched, though, with my 17-year-old, his generation, it seems to be picking up on the fact that all of this weakness was before them, and that means that they don't really have to do what you say. Like, they're watching an entire generation of people that are going, hey, you can't say that and you can't do that, and they go, why not?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, I think we're hitting the rebellion, defiant stage of
Yeah.
to your point. The question is, what will they choose?
Well,
What does
watching-
their version of defiance look
Honestly,
like?
I'm watching with my kid. What I'm having to teach him the most is respecting people, because he's realizing that he doesn't have to, because there's nothing.
The 17-year-old?
Yeah, he's realizing that the people that are telling him not to do something, there's no slap behind it. There's no
Yeah.
consequence. They're just going, hey,
Authoritative.
don't do that. That's not nice. You can't.
Or
You'll
what?
make someone
Or
right. And he's
what?
like,
Yeah.
or what are you going to do?
It's interesting. Even just thinking about this generation of kids right now. A lot of them are multimillionaires by 20 years old because
Sure.
they understand the
game.
internet and the game and all that kind of stuff. But I think that goes back to what you were saying about having your faith, your family.
Well, the problem with those kids, if your core values aren't in alignment with your
Yeah,
ability
so
to
they're
earn,
making money, but
you'll
they're not
burn it
doing
just as
the other
fast.
stuff, yeah.
100%. I've seen.
Well,
I was there. You know what I
I've
mean?
talked to a few of those guys.
Yeah,
too
easy
now.
come, easy go. Like,
Oh yeah, a couple of years ago I made $8 million. I'm like, oh man.
there's a really interesting
You
study.
invested well? Like, no, I lost it.
Yeah.
I
That they
paid-
said they can
yeah.
take every dollar on the planet Earth and disperse it out evenly, like go just straight communism, go straight socialism, right?
So go right back to that.
And it ends up right back in the same pockets because it's who you are at your core.
Yeah.
It's nothing to do with like, oh, taxes, this, et cetera. Like you will literally lose it if you're not ready to steward it. My man won't let you hold on to that money.
Yeah.
No way. No way.
That was one of the interesting points in part of what y'all teach on the entrepreneur side, was what they need to do with their first 10% or 3%. I can't remember. What
Yeah,
the
it was.
number
Yeah, so we have a pretty cool.
Pay your tithes.
Yeah, exactly. So we basically. So we're actually. Actually had lunch today with Matt. So me and Matt had lunch over at Firebirds. Matt Murphy.
Oh, yeah, cool.
So we've been fighting sex trafficking for about 4 years, and sadly we were linked up with this company out of St. George, Utah, and then we did our first big like hands-on trip with them down in Belize 2 summers ago, and then we quickly realized where all our money was not going. So we unhitched from that wagon.
My favorite thing about Matt.
Yeah, and then I've been trying to like hunt down Operation Lightshine for like a year, and then come to find out he's not there anymore. All that to say, we linked up about a month or two ago. He came out to Vegas and spoke at this event I was doing with Brad, and I don't know where I was going with it. Oh yeah, so we basically have this rule at the higher level in my program where you have to put 3% of your top line revenue to Matt. You just have to, like out of sight, out of mind. But what we've proven over time with this model is that it's actually a 6% yield. And I try not to pitch it this way because I don't want you to put money because you're going to make more, because you can't exploit this. And I'm sure you see that, those virtue signal, idiots out there all over, like soccer moms, etc. But imagine, you take 3 points of your top line revenue and you put it towards something bigger than you. So we're doing Sentinel Foundation, but what if it was, Habitat for Humanity, autism, whatever speaks to you. And now in your break room, which people don't have anymore because we're all online, but just having these board meetings or these meetings with your team, and instead of a KPI that says like, let's hit $2 million in top line revenue this quarter, you're saying, hey, let's, it's about $4,700 to rehab one of these girls that's been trafficked and rescued. So like, what if you took your KPI of revenue, divided it by 4,700 and said, let's save, 25 girls this quarter. And imagine getting your team to rally behind that cause rather than just put a few extra dollars into the owner's pocket. Even if you dangled a carrot of like a bonus or whatever, like, studies have shown basically what we've shown with that is the quality of work that you get from your people, the extra days, the Saturdays, the extra hours, like the entire work.
They have a purpose behind it.
It's purpose over profit.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, but you actually see a 9% uptick on average in top line revenue. So you kick 3 points to Matt, your business goes up 9 points. So there's a 6% win for you, and all you're trying to do is help people.
Love it.
Why would everybody not do this?
It was so funny. Just I had this. I own a little campground resort outside of Nashville called the Buffalo River Resort, and we had a Patriot event there this past weekend. There was a guy talking to me. He's like, "Oh yeah," he goes, "I do a lot with sex trafficking, anti-sex trafficking, not with sex trafficking."
Yeah. I always say it wrong too. I'm like, that came out all wrong.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, that's great." I said, "Do you know Matt Murphy?" He's like, "I don't know." He goes, and he texted another guy that was a Green Beret, and he said, "Oh yeah, I know Matt." And he goes, "Oh yeah," he said that Matt was with Operation Lightshine, but they said that he was a little too harsh.
He was too outspoken.
He was too outspoken.
His words
I was like,
weren't right.
Well, then it was too hard, and I was like, I mean, you are dealing with people that are raping and killing children and selling kids.
How PC can you be if you want to be effective?
I remember the first event I did with him. We were at we put together a concert, and got some guys out there to do stuff for our buddy Josh Likens out there with Matt whenever at the Nashville Palace. And first time he got up there and spoke, he was just very candid and said exactly what he felt. Yeah. And you can see there's always some of the people that get like a little like, oh my gosh, is he being? He
spoke at my event. And he kept using the term "full retard." He's like, yeah, don't go full retard. And like all my guys loved it, but I get it because when he came off the stage, he's like, hey, did I go a little too hard with the full retard thing? I was like, no, man. People
I think what happens.
So that became his nickname in our group.
People want the clips that they can put on the internet. And,
they get polarizing by design. Yeah.
But I mean, we love him. I mean, we love Matt, and I've got to spend some time with him and seen the effects that him and his ideas and being that way has saved lives, and it's brought people that the last one he told me about when we were talking before this was right before he left Operation Lightshine and went over to the Sentinel Foundation. But this girl was missing for like 72 hours, and they used their technology and found her in 23 minutes.
Yeah, they got that hacker kid that's like the black hat.
Yeah,
I can't remember his name, but he's like the ultimate top 2 or 3 hackers in the world. And they've got
23 minutes, couldn't 72 hours.
Yeah,
gone.
the FBI have been looking. That was in Dallas.
Yeah, in Dallas. Yeah.
Yeah, FBI have been on it for 72 hours and one phone call.
But because of all the red tape with like full blown government, when you're over here running, like he's able to do things like you couldn't even recruit that kid that they recruited. The government, he won't work for the government.
Yeah.
And if you're not moving with the speed of tech, you're already behind. So like they're doing big things. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just pulled 52 kids.
I just learned how to prompt chat.
Yeah, you got her. You got her name.
I learned how to prompt that thing the other day.
Well, just 3 months ago, you thought AI was a word.
Yeah, it's not.
Are you running 3.5, or 4? Did you get on the list for 4?
I don't know. I got this. What's on my phone? Let me look at it.
Well, if you ain't paying for it and you didn't get on a waiting list, you don't have 4.
I am paying for it.
You are paying for it.
AI chat. Yep. Chat GPT 4.
Oh, you got 4?
Yep. Oh, no.
3.5?
Default model 3.5.
Yeah, see if you can request 4. If I can get you on the list.
Oh, yeah. Pro.
They might. I mean, they might have like opened it up by now.
Jared
but it was a nightmare.
Our boy's paying for Chat GPT.
Next level,
dude. I've been using all. Listen, the other day I literally got on there. I said, write a bio about country music singer Big Vinny, and I'm telling you, it wrote me a bio that was awesome. And then I went back and said, write me a 200 word or a 200 character bio. He went back in 200 characters. And it literally was it was perfect.
I'm gonna bring my AI guy on your thing. It'll blow your mind. He's working he's the one that he's going out to see. So I got him in front of Brad. Now he's doing some stuff with Andy Elliott. But the stuff this guy can do, it'll hurt your heart. Like it's crazy how far that stuff's come. So like when he was when he spoke at my last event, I'll give you the quick 30,000 foot view. One of the big gripes we get from some of our guys trying to scale, or maybe they're solopreneurs trying to step into some growth, is like, I don't have the money to hire. I can't hire a team. I don't have the money. And so he's created this system whereby he has like different bots in built-in Chat GPT, but he has a CEO bot, he has an HR bot, he has a, you know what I mean? And so you basically, because the more
His
you...
name Phil Stringer?
No, his name's Hudson Wyckoff, and he's like some next level, like
Yeah.
he's just on a whole nother level. So I'll make sure you get in front of him because he's, I mean, every single person it's kind of like a catch-22 for me because he builds all my stuff and he's like my guy, and then I keep putting him in front of guys that are technically bigger than me, and like they're gonna one day just like snatch him.
Tell him
Like I literally had to call Andy and I was like, hey bro, check this out. You have enough money to just yoink my dude, but I literally like moved him down from Indianapolis to, he's in Spring Hill now, right? Like this is my guy. This is like my
here.
right hand. Yeah, he's in Spring Hill.
Cool. Yeah.
And like tomorrow, we're speaking of some crazy place in Nashville, and it's all like 7-figure dudes. But all that
Cool Nights with happy people, or what was it?
He got the invite to that too. I think Cool Nights with Wealthy People.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Coach Burton. Are you doing that? Is that you too?
That's
right?
what we were
That's
thinking.
all you guys?
We got the invite.
Yeah, that's on the next Friday.
Saturday.
The 20th.
The 20th.
Yeah.
That's this Saturday, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, 18th is Thursday. Because are you doing the thing on the 18th?
I am going to go down there. You
Yeah,
gonna go down
yeah,
there?
I'll go down there. I got
What is it?
Figure out my life.
It's Nick and Coach Burt are doing a
Sarnicola?
brand
Like
accelerator.
a brand accelerator program down at the Greatness Factory.
Nick Sarnicola or whatever. Or no, you Nick.
No,
No,
Nick
Nick
Hyder.
Hyder.
Yeah,
Oh, Nick
all the
Hyder.
Nicks.
Nick
Hyder
There's so
and
many
Coach
There's
Nicks.
so many Nicks in my life.
Yeah,
I said Nicks.
yeah, you
with
did.
the N,
And
people.
capital N.
That's with the N, people.
I would say Jared could come, but we know he's going to be getting cash money for that house out in Franklin.
Come on with it.
Oh,
West
the
Haven.
20th?
18th.
Oh, the 18th.
Thursday. So
We're speaking into
Thursday.
existence.
Sure, I have something going on the 18th.
Thursday is 12:30 to 2:30
Oh, that's it.
at the Greatness Factory.
Oh yeah, I could definitely swing by then. I don't know why I thought it was an all-day thing.
So I'm planning on going.
Yeah, I'll see you there.
And
Hold
then
on, let me
the
put it on my
20th,
calendar.
the 20th is the cool people with
Cool people with money or
cool
something
people.
like that. Yeah. I
Cool,
saw that.
Who named this
cool
shit?
times with wealthy people.
Yeah.
There we go.
I'm
There
like,
we
listen,
go.
Coach Burt.
Yeah.
Let me name your events for you.
Yeah.
Cool times with. I mean, the wealthy people part, I guess, could stay.
Yeah, you should have put like and nachos or something like that at the bottom.
Yeah.
Like just really church it up a bit.
Yeah, I'm not committing to that
Get
unless everybody in here is going.
Get a 1990s logo on it, some
Yeah.
retro action going. I like it. I just watched this thing last night, actually, since we were talking about all this, was the dark side of the child Hollywood thing.
I've watched the dark side of everything.
Dude, it just came out on HBO Max, and they're talking about all the stuff that happened at Nickelodeon back in that day and everything, and the Amanda Bynes story and all that. Dude, I'm just like, dude, I used to watch all these shows.
You can't do that. on
You haven't
television.
watched all the dark side of series?
No,
Oh, there's tons.
I didn't even know there was another one. I thought it
Dark
was just
Side
this
of the
thing.
'90s. Dark Side of the '90s was like 2 different seasons. Dark Side of the '90s and went through like pop and rap and all sorts of stuff. Like, everything that you dreamed of as a child, it exposes.
Just
all of
destroyed your dreams. I don't want to watch that.
So the
thing.
next
No, it's
one's
pretty
on.
awesome. Because as an adult, you're like, oh, well, of course that was
Yeah.
that way. Yeah, that
Hey,
makes more sense.
for a
They
second.
beat those wrestlers to get them in there.
Are we plugging?
Ladies and gentlemen, just want you to know Mentos, the fresh maker. Make sure you get some. Mentos, that just cost you $4,614.
We saved a kid.
Thank you.
So the next series is the dark side of Diddy.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, for sure.
Is
I
anything
think
gonna
we've
come
heard
of
about
that?
the dark side of it. I think he gets his own special.
He's still not been indicted, right?
I
Still
think
no
he's-
charges.
I think
for
he's
it?
still in a place where he can't be touched.
No, he's in Miami, chilling.
I
Riding
thought he
his
was in
bike
some
and shit.
island.
I think the internet's
No,
still
that's
laughing at
hearsay.
that. Did he do it? Line. That's
Yeah.
just in the
Did he
that's
do
been
it?
every. Yeah, that's just
I said he's somewhere where he can't be touched,
A move.
even though he's touched
Yeah.
a lot. Yeah, I mean, I'm cool with whatever. I mean, I don't know the Coach Burt guy, but apparently he's a big deal. I met the Mike White guy that you kind of know. I didn't meet him. He hit me up on the internet, and he said, because I'm having that scaling success retreat out at the lodge with, Bill Walsh.
But you're
He's,
using Coach Burt's lodge?
No, I'm using.
Oh.
We have I have that little resort that I have west of town. We got a lodge that sleeps it's got 9 beds in it, and then we have 4 cabins.
We need to talk.
Yeah, let's do a retreat.
Because I
out
just
there.
picked up 50 acres down the street, but we haven't been
Okay.
able to build it out yet. But
Yeah.
I run a retreat like every 5 weeks. And
Yeah,
I've
let's
been renting
do it.
out, Evans Mill. It's in Smithville, Tennessee. It's got like 12, 15 cabins, but
Oh, cool, yeah.
40 acres, big old waterfall.
Did have a very sought after restaurant till the tornado came through, right?
I mean, we still eat there, so I don't know where they're getting the
Did they
food.
reopen?
We've been using that property for about 2 years, but we always it gets a little dicey right now because it's wedding season, so we get kind of pushed off. And,
Yeah.
I'm working with entrepreneurs, and we try to do our events on Friday, Saturday, and all day Friday, Saturday, fly home on Sunday, and so we're just getting beat up by weddings.
Is it still Goodness
so.
Gracious? Okay, because the Goodness Gracious that's in the fountains.
Oh, I've heard of that,
over by
yeah.
Rye.
Yeah.
was at Evans Mill in Smithville.
Okay.
Well,
I
just so you
love
know,
Evans Mill.
at the resort we have a 8-mile canoe and kayaking tubing trip, or a 5-mile, and then we have permanent camping for 100
We're
acres.
100% talking because we literally almost booked the Marriott because
Get on the Marriott.
no, and then we
also
rent
have
sprinter
a,
vans and then we take them out in
yeah.
the woods and beat them up. But like,
Well, we have sprinter vans as well, but we also have a
we do.
stage trailer and PA and stuff.
yeah, definitely on top.
Yeah,
we're
so
probably
you,
supposed to be having
that's
this
what this
conversation.
weekend I had that. It was Patriot Party News that did their event out there, and they had about 380 people or so that came out, and they had probably 20 speakers. They had what's his name, the big British guy, bald British guy,
Bald British guy.
Ward, Charlie Ward.
Hmm.
Charlie Ward was out there speaking, and he brought a good little crowd with him. Although they made him speak like second.
Oof.
And then they probably had 400, 500 people out there. And then he spoke, and then
And then they were gone.
And then there was 14 people there.
and I was like, well, no, there was still about 380 there. So I mean, they had enough people that they literally ate the food truck out of all their food. The food truck had to leave at like 3:30 in the afternoon.
I keep asking this guy, why don't you have food trucks then? Like everything that you're selling out at your resort, you should just buy those companies, build those companies.
Just buy my
Let's
own
do it.
food truck.
Yeah, dude.
I'm in. Let's go.
It's the next.
I mean,
company.
there's 3,000 people out there every weekend in the summer. So
That's a
I mean,
lot.
if you don't get a store out there soon, I'm gonna ask you if I can lease some property and build my own damn store. Like,
you get Jared Christie to build up the building.
heck yeah.
Now
I
we're in
grew
the
up in
process.
convenience stores. I know about them.
Yeah. Wait a minute. We'll open it together. Moon, we're opening a convenience store. Moon's got a podcast now.
Yeah.
Yeah, him and Tyler Farr. It's called The Far Out or something like that.
Tyler Farr getting into the
He had that
podcast
Southern
game.
Grandpa
Okay.
on there the other day. The
What are you
guy,
talking about?
the one I sent you, the guy who dresses in the overalls. He's only like 20-something years old. He's like, "Hey, boy, you'd be better off to try and wet sand a bobcat's ass in a phone
Oh, the
booth
guy
or
that just
something."
hits the idioms over and over. Yeah,
He's a Southern Grandpa dude. He's
yeah,
hilarious.
he's pretty funny.
I haven't seen it.
Well, anyway, so let's get back to talking about your program, and this is what happens on our show. We get off
Absolutely.
on a tangent and start talking about other stuff. Now, when I saw your logo, I was like, "Oh, I've seen this on the interwebs quite a bit.
Yeah.
I've seen it on Instagram and follow. I think I follow the whole deal and everything." So, you started this. You said 5 years ago, or when did you actually start the program?
I worked with a gentleman who's still my mentor. Another Nick. His name is Nick Long out of Cali, and I was kind of his number two. And essentially, he's working with guys that are trying to exit their company, like sell. And so when I was running through the applications and doing kind of the sales calls, and we were saying no to more guys we were saying yes to. So I started noticing the pattern was it's a lot harder for entrepreneurs to get like from 6 to 7. Like once you get to 7
Yeah.
and you build some systems, it's kind of like how far do you want to take this thing? Like wash, rinse, repeat. And so we built this thing to kind of like facilitate the avatar that's just like some startups, some solopreneurs, but really guys trying to figure out like business 101. So we've had a lot of really good success in like home services, because in home services you've got guys that are amazing with their hands and amazing like craftsmen, but don't even know what QuickBooks is. And so we've really been able to like ratchet up. We've had some pretty big numbers. Like we the guys that if you look up a company called the Barn Dominium Company, the Barndo Co.
Yeah.
They're in Greenville. They didn't even have an LLC when they met me, and they're going to do 40 mil this year.
Dang.
And so, but what they are is one's an excellent marketer and one's an excellent craftsman, right?
Yeah.
And so, boom, game over.
No wonder Quality Building Supply was willing to give away a building and give us $30,000 last year.
Well, they're coming out here, by the way. They already have established
QBC, we're gonna have to have a little talk. QBS.
But yeah, really, the actual program, its quote unquote birth was September. This will be 3 years this September, so a little over 2.5 years.
That's awesome.
But yeah, man, it's just we've created a ton of wealth. But the reality is, we're way more proud of like.
Yeah, what you're doing.
Yeah,
for
man.
men,
I got
other
wives that'll
lives.
call me crying because of how their husband's showing up. I got to
that's
watch
so
the
awesome. That's
generational. Like I had a guy come up to me at an event and say, "Look, you're helping people win, but what you're really doing is you're changing your family trees." He's like, "Bro, like you're creating a new version of the dude who can then roll these tools down to his kids and so on." And so you're kind of breaking this generational curse that so many men are stuck in because they don't know. Again, they don't know what they don't know.
Well, I think you said something interesting earlier, because we were built in those. I mean, I was raised in that way.
Yeah.
Even though I had a very tumultuous childhood, I was still taught like God's first, family second, others, and then yourself was last. Now, I think I got that one part wrong. I think that in order to be the best version of yourself, in order to be the best version for other people, you have to be the best version of yourself. So you have to help yourself become better. And I think doing a program like what you're saying and realizing those things, putting them in place, makes you the best version of you, which in turn.
It feels selfish at first. Like
Yeah.
I think we've all been on the airplane
Yep.
when they say, "Hey, put the mask on you," and you're like, "No." Especially if you got your babies right next to you,
If
like
you
I'm
think
saving
about it,
everyone.
though, there's no real way to not do that if you're putting God first or faith first, whatever
Yeah.
you're putting it. you automatically are putting yourself first because you're the one making that
connection
direct
in the relationship. Yeah.
Right. You're building that, and then it's trickling down to everything
Yeah.
else. So I think the issue with the South is that we talk that line a lot, but we're not really doing it. We talk about, the South is great about talking about how big their God is. No faith in that God whatsoever. You know, everything still is, I'm going to go out what I'm doing, what I'm doing, what I'm doing, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, I look back on life over the last couple of years, and you guys know obviously how hard I've been working, and my wife's been working. But at the same time, I look at every time my life grows, I feel like I had very little to actually do with it. I still showed up, but the big things that happen seem like they fall in my lap. It feels like God's doing all that, you know.
Well, I feel like that's what's, over the last year, I've gotten some great opportunities to go and speak. I got to do a couple of different things. I got to be in front of Tucker Carlson and RFK Jr. one night, and then I've been invited to do that Grant Cardone thing. You know, I made the top 10 on his Great American Speak Off, which was basically, it was great. And then they tried to sell me about 75 programs.
Yeah, of course.
While I was out there, but which
it
was
wouldn't
great.
be Grant Cardone if it didn't.
Yeah, but then I learned a lot about, hey, this is what you got to do if you want to, succeed in that. Not that I agree with everything, but I understood, like, hey, we're creating a product that we believe is worth this much money, and here's our success rate with it. So you're showing proof of it and all that. I get all that. But these opportunities keep coming up, and I'm like, why did I get this? So the way I got this one opportunity was I was doing what I always do, which is entertain people. And I was doing this show in town called Shiners Nashville, which I don't know if you've been to it yet, but it's Chuck Wicks's show, and he invited me to come in and be his
You got to go. It's dope.
stunt double-double.
awesome.
It's
his
awesome.
stunt double-double.
I don't know how good it is when Chuck's there. So I've never
It's
been
great.
there
No,
with
it's
Chuck.
great.
I don't know.
It's different when Chuck's there. He's more like a stoic, funny, whereas I'm more like, oh shucks, country boy funny, But while I was there, this guy happened to come in named Todd Alt the third, and he's a big money guy out of Vegas and owns a Formula One team and all this other stuff. And as I'm sitting there talking, to get done, he's like, man, you need to come out and do some entertainment at one of my things in Vegas. I'm like, sure, buddy,
Yeah.
It's like, we'll switch information, and we got my Instagram. He sent me a thing, and I looked him up, and I was like, oh, wait a second, this guy's probably being serious. Because most time people say that, and they're not really being serious. I mean, with entertainers, like, you're going to come out, you're going to play our private party, and we're going to pay you $30,000. And we're like, all right, cool, let's go. And then you send him a message, oh, yeah, we just don't have time for that. But I sent him a message, and he sent me back a thumbs up. And I was like, crap, he ain't interested. But then like 2 days later, we ended up having the exact same publicist, and then he ended up flying me out there and paying me to speak on the panel with Consuelo Vanderbilt and several others. Was it Tom Ford? Tom Ford,
the designer?
No.
That'd be
Neil
pretty
Ford.
massive.
Neil
Ford.
Ford,
There you
the
go.
storyteller. Not Tom Ford. I used to have some of his cologne, I think.
That's what you wore to the event.
Yeah, that's what it was. But anyways, but I've been seeing, now Jared was saying, like, these opportunities come up, they're not of my doing. I'm just being me and doing what I do and being authentic and being real. And then the next thing you know, I'm on a stage speaking in front of
The harder I try to have
500
control
multi-bazillionaires,
over a situation,
you
you Tommy Boy it. You just
Yeah.
like the more you, but it's hard to teach. How do you tell someone surrender? How do you tell someone like, hey man, hey, just let my man, hey, you know what I mean? Like it's like, but then we can all sit here and tell these stories for days about because I'm a control freak by nature.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of my weaknesses. Because the
I'm not,
more I
yeah.
try to
I try
because
to
what
release it
there's
all.
a sentence out there: what we resist persists. So it's like when you focus on these things you don't want to happen, that usually is what ends up happening. And so you just try to control the result. And I've got 42 people showing up to this event. I need to close 83%, and the average ticket's going to look like this, and all of a sudden it all blows up in your face. But what would it look like to just be like? He's never steered me wrong. Right. He's taught me some lessons, but I needed him.
Well, you say, how do you teach someone that? The way that I try to tell people, and it's like, listen, you can either get your ass kicked the way I did, or you can listen to me. That's the only route. You either get your ass kicked and you learn it, or
you learn by experience.
You listen and you do what we're saying.
Yeah.
That's
No, we call it.
When we leave these schools, we always
experience
tell
or
these kids,
example. It's up to you.
Yeah. We always kind of finish the speech out of these schools with. Now, listen, some of you are listening. Some of you believe what I'm saying. And some of you don't. But here's the deal. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
No. It's not going to change my life at all if all of you think I'm lying, if none of you listen to me at all.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to change my life. I'm still going to go home and kiss my hot wife and spend time with my family. And I'm still going to go play shows. And I'm still going to do all these things that make my life great. And you can listen to what I'm saying. And you can have a great life too.
Some of them, I think, are hardwired to fuck around and find out. You know what I mean? Like some of them are like, I know what you're saying, but hold on.
I agree.
My favorite thing is then they come up and there's always these questions. They go up to me, how much can you bench press? And they walk to Jerry, can we see a picture of your hot wife?
That's all they got out of the whole thing.
That's what they got out of the
Nailed another one.
But then actually the last school that we spoke at, man, we were telling our stories, and this girl down the very front row just got so emotional and started crying and all this, and she wanted to talk to us afterwards, and she told us her story and everything she was going through, and her dad had killed himself, and the mom was blaming her, and every day.
Is this high school age?
High school,
okay.
Yeah. Well, these were 7th, 8th grade.
Yeah, I think in that one.
7th, 8th grade. And the mom was blaming her, so it's your fault, because if it wasn't for you, he wouldn't have been so stressed out, and he wouldn't have done it and all this. And she was just tore up, and we were just there to encourage her, let her know, like, hey, we've been through a lot of crazy hard things, and I watched my mom put a gun to her head and pull the trigger whenever I was a kid. She lived through it, still alive to this day. And I said, I can't tell you how to replace that. I can't tell you, I said, but it's not your fault, And we were able to sit there and give her that, and give her, and all she wanted was a hug, And Jared's had that happen so many times. Like, what can I do for you? Can I just get a hug? They just want an authoritative figure to just show them some
space.
love,
Yeah, man.
Yeah. And listen to them. We let them talk, and we listen to what they have to say, and then we offer the best advice we can give. And the one of the best parts about it is we've been able to identify some of these kids that are being, beat the way I was beat, and we've been able to put them in contact with a teacher, let the teachers know, because they won't go talk to the teacher.
Yeah.
They won't go talk to somebody else.
Most of them have shame and guilt around it, or
I mean, well, just like you said, my stepdad beat me pretty much every day of my life. I just thought that's how life was, And when I was sitting there, and the first time that I ever saw it on me, I always wore pants to school, but I was sitting there and my pants had kind of come up and I had all these big whelps on me. He whooped me with an extension cord, and my buddy Michael Mastro, he looks at me, he goes, "What happened to your legs?" I was in 4th grade. I said, "Oh, I got a whooping." He goes, "With what?" I was like, "It was extension cord, And he's like, "That ain't how you get a whooping." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And the next thing I know, he's telling me, he's like, "Well, my mom whoops me, I get a paddling on the butt, and all this." I'm like, "Oh, that ain't how it goes for me." And sometimes it's a fist to the face, or a backhand, or
if there's something to grab,
something to grab. I mean, I had one time I was, one of the first times they hit me with a tool, I was sling blading out. We had field, and I broke the sling blade, and he didn't see me do it, so I was trying to go put it back in the shed.
What did you do?
And go get a different one. Well, the problem was I was trying to take down this small tree with it, because I was like, I don't need to go get the bow saw. I'll just take it down with this sling blade, And then I hit it, and the handle broke, whatever. So I was trying to take it in there. By the time I was grabbing the other one, I felt this whole crack right over my back, And he hit me with the handle that I'd already broken and put back, because I thought I was getting away with something. I was like, I don't know what happened to it. I don't know, But that was like, when you said that earlier, it really resonated with me, because I'm like, that's exactly what I thought. I thought it's just how life was.
This par for the course. That's all we all knew. Yeah. It was just...
Now, and the other thing I always tell him that set me off was I was sitting there, and whenever the day that my mom kind of done all that, I said to my brother, I'm like, I'm not going to live like this the rest of my life. I was like, that's not how it is on TGIF. That ain't what you see on these families. I'm like, why are we living like that? Why does that happen to us?
How fake did you think like the Bob Saget setup was? And no one's like, no families are like this. What is this? You know what I mean?
What are you talking about?
There's some real families out there.
Why does Uncle Phil better than the dad?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was interesting. And so, my goal with when we go out and speak, Jared kind of talks from a place of, he got to a point where, he had a pretty decent childhood and a good life growing up, and he found sex, drugs, and rock and roll and kind of went that path, whereas me, I was born into this bad thing. But the point is we both ended up in the same place. We both ended up here talking to you today and telling you about how we were
basically
able
with the same lessons. It was either you were born into those lessons or you created those lessons.
Yeah.
One of the two.
But then be able to tell these kids that, like, it doesn't matter where you started off. It doesn't matter where you got yourself to. You can still come out of that.
Yeah.
And, obviously self-forgiveness is a huge thing in that. I mean, there's so many things I blamed myself for a long time. I think he was the same way when he tells the story talking about his little girl and, the whole Winnie the Pooh story.
Yeah.
I think it's when he has that guilt, and he took him a while to forgive himself for that.
But I just think it still comes back, and once again, that goes back to that faith being first. Without faith being first, all those things will creep back in on me. And you look at the finance, because that's what most people would say
upside
that they
down.
put. They go toward
when
the
I get my money
finance
right,
first.
then I'll get back with God. When
But
yeah.
Then I'll ask her to marry me.
Yeah.
The crazy part about that is that everything we pursue with the belief. The only reason we're pursuing is that we believe that that's going to bring us joy.
Right.
We believe that that's going to make us happy. We believe that that's going to give us peace. And if God is the creator, if you actually believe in a God, and you believe that God created everything, and you believe that God knows your heart, then you could ignore everything else you think you know about your life or what you think is going to make you happy.
Yeah.
And you could just go directly to God.
the source. Yeah.
Because, I mean, the amount of things that I've chased in my life that didn't lead me to happiness.
Oh,
But
yeah.
they gave me joy or gave me happiness for a minute, but it
Yeah.
was fleeting, and it led to someplace bad. You know what I mean?
I'd
You
like-
look at like the cheating.
Yeah.
Obviously, you think in that moment that
Grass
that's
is
what's going to make
greener.
you
That's
happy.
100%.
You know,
Yeah.
but the pain that comes with it and the crap that you got to go through, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just.
So the word that you said 1,000 times right there was belief, and like that's the craziest thing. When I talk about all the F words that we drop, faith and fear are the only two things that control every move you make for the rest of your life. It's just you either have faith that it's going to work out, or you don't move, right, or you move away from because you have fear that it won't. But they both require there's a prerequisite there of like firm belief, because you have to believe in something so much that doesn't exist yet. Or you can't actually like see, touch, etc. So it's like it's mind blowing to me that people latch onto fear because, you've heard of like analysis paralysis. People will analyze a situation to death and what people are going to judge me and what if I say this thing wrong or what if I fail. Like all of these stories leave you stuck, but you're still manifesting a belief in something that is not there yet.
Right.
Whereas faith is identical. You like I have faith this is going to work out. I have faith that if I just surrender, my man's going to do his thing because he knows my heart. Right.
I always talk
So it's
about
like,
my
I
fear
don't
of
know.
regret.
Choose your belief.
Yeah, my fear of
Right.
regret is way bigger
But
than
you're
my
gonna
fear
believe
of
one.
failure.
Yeah.
Like you're,
I'd rather try and fail than wake up one day 40 years from now and be like, man, I wish I would have tried that.
oh, for sure.
Maybe I should have.
But we don't allow our guys to say the word like a failure. We don't mind. It's another F word, but like losses, like we just call them lessons, And,
Yeah,
and you've
absolutely.
all had some expensive lessons, and so I've had some 200K lessons. It's not a loss. And
that whole faith idea that you're going to have a belief in something.
Yeah.
It's like that Bob Dylan song, Jamie Johnson and those guys redid it, but serve somebody.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you're going to serve somebody.
yeah.
You know, whether that be your boss, whether that be your wife, whether that be a god, whether that be in the warden, you're
your
going to serve
clients,
somebody.
whatever.
You're going to have to pick who you're going to have to serve. And so once again, I go, well, if I chose that route to not have a belief in God, and I'm choosing to serve my clients or my boss, I don't want that.
Yeah.
That's not the person I want. That means I'm putting my faith in them now that they're going to provide for me.
Some sort of quid pro quo, or they're going yeah. Frightening stuff. But then so here's it's interesting as we go down these paths and have these conversations. To me, this is what it's about, and I love that you guys have I've been thinking about adding a dude here and there to a podcast, at least certain episodes, because this is where the stuff, all these unique perspectives, and which are based on your life and your journey. But I'm a big believer in this sentence, which is the quality of a man's life is 100% related to the quality of questions he's willing to ask.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like just right now, you don't even get down these rabbit holes that we're discussing unless you are around like-minded individuals that are willing to ask the tough questions, that are willing to analyze things from, it's almost interesting just the way these seats are positioned right now. It's like there's something happening right here, and you're looking at it from this way, and I'm looking at it from this way, right? So we've got 4 eyeballs on this thing, and we're all got a different perspective, and it's just. Yeah, man. I hate the word mastermind, but that is the clinical definition of it. It's like when more than 2 or more minds get together, and then all of our ideas form this one giant.
Have you noticed all the masterminds are saying the same thing? They're like, I hate the word mastermind. And
are
they're
they?
starting to change their names. Like Apex is now, it's no longer the Apex Entourage Mastermind. It's Apex Business Association.
Oh, really? Yeah. The reality is like
I get it.
whoever's the loudest is winning right now. And even if you're a shithead and you really have no value to add to the marketplace, if you got the money to market and run your mouth, like you have a pretty good chance of doing all right. When it's shameful.
Sounds like the music industry.
Wait a minute. Well, I think that's been the interesting thing, that we've noticed. So we spent all of our, up until the last just couple years, we've just been in music.
Yeah.
And then music, it's feast or famine. If you're not a top artist, a lot of people think that, at one point I was on tour with Toby Keith and was on CMT and was on the award shows and all this other stuff. And I was still trying to figure out how to pay my rent every single month, And I think a lot of people in that time, and it got to a point to where we were doing, 20 to 30 grand a night, and we were making great money. And I wasn't anywhere even close to being prepared to know how to handle money, And I've seen that with a lot of, NFL players and people that, come like I did, come from nothing, and all of a sudden you got money. You're like, oh, I'm going to buy the best car. I'm going to buy this.
I think money
I'm gonna buy that.
exposes you. I think it exposes your core values, and like
Oh,
if they're not in
absolutely.
alignment, then
Well, that was my problem.
again-
I gave all my money away. I was like, oh yeah, I can help you out, buddy. You can live with me for free. You don't got to
Yeah.
pay no rent. I'll pay for everything, you know. But anyways, was saying that we've just now got into that business, and he started a couple years before me. Kind of getting into the real estate side of things and all that, but learning, all the different parts of business and how do you have to scale something and how do you have to work something and all that kind of stuff. When you're a creative person, whenever your mind is set on creating music and all that, you just want to wake up and go create music, and when you're switching this mindset to like, okay, I'm going to create something and then I got to go sell it. And then I have to learn how to do that. What's the best way to do that? What value am I really bringing to people? Because that was the problem I always had. I was like, people all the time say, you need to create a program for health and fitness. I'm like, well, I'm still 300 and something pound guy. Yeah, but you used to be 500 pounds. And they'll push it on me like, you have all this knowledge, you have all this other stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't feel like I look the part, And which my wife's, bodybuilder and won plenty of awards and third-degree world champion. And she has her own program and all that kind of stuff.
But you know the rule on that, right?
The better marketer wins.
No. Just like I call it the one-step rule.
Yeah.
You only have to be one step ahead of your avatar to add value to their world.
Yeah.
So you just have a different avatar. There's a lot of guys out there that like need to go from 5. Like you're obviously, the most qualified to help the person you used to be. And so you find the guy who's trying to go from 500 to 300, whatever it is, and you tell him your journey, and it's a wrap. And
I worked for a company called V-Shred for about 4 years.
I know that guy.
Yeah, Vince.
Yeah.
Well, he's just the model. Nick is Nick. Another guy named Nick is the owner.
So they V-Shred did. Is Arvin there when you were there?
I don't think
he does.
so.
This the Dash one. The what's it called?
Dash?
Flavor God.
Oh, Flavor God. Yeah.
So he owns Flavor God too, but he was with V-Shred for a long time.
Oh,
He's the money behind it. Yeah.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
actually upstate New York. But
Yeah, there's I met 3 or 4 of the money guys because at one point I was on Biggest Loser 13 years ago when I weighed 500 pounds. I was on Biggest Loser.
which one do you like better, Bob or
I didn't have Jillian. I had Dovette was
Okay.
my coach for the first 6 weeks, and I had Bob for the last 6 weeks, which is TV weeks, which is like months.
Yeah.
But then we had Anna Kournikova on the season, which I never got to work with her other than the dark days when we weren't filming because I was never on her team. But she would come in and train, and unfortunately, she had the silver sneakers. Was I think what they called themselves? The older
group that
we
does
were Battle
yeah.
of the Ages, so we were in the young group, there was
Gotcha,
the middle age
gotcha.
group, and then the old group.
Yeah.
And so they wouldn't show up to work out with her. So me and Ramon would go work out with her. People were like, why are you going to work out with Anna Kournikova? I'm like, don't worry about it. We're just going to go work out with Anna Kournikova. But no, it was. I lost where I was because I started thinking about Anna Kournikova. Sorry, babe. But no, when we were on the show, I lost all this weight and, and done all these great things, and all the people were awesome that I learned from on there. They were looking at potentially having Vince come be the trainer when they revamped the show. But it ended up being the guy from Gymshark. What's his name?
Oh yeah, I don't know his name anymore.
Anyways, the model guy from Gymshark, because he had like 2.8 million followers on Instagram and all this other stuff. But
Your boy from V-Show's doing everything. He's back up and running again.
he's
got like 6
it.
different campaigns he's running now.
Oh yeah, now they got Dr. Oz involved and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. No, they got what's his name too? Is it Dr. Oz? They got Drew. Remember that sex show back on the day at MTV?
Drew.
Dr.
Oh,
Drew.
yeah,
They got Dr. Drew doing
Is it
something
Dr.
too.
Drew? Yeah, maybe it's Dr.
Yeah,
Drew.
yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was Dr. Oz.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know the difference. It's the Wizard of Oz. But
Yeah.
and that was what kind of made my wife want to create her program. Is so she created a program for them called Move, right before pandemic, and it's kind of a home-based workout. It's 30 days and it has your rest in there, and of course has your whole what you should do in meditations. It has all the stuff in it for 30 days, and it's called Move. And they sold that thing over 1 million times at $48 a pop, $47.99. Sorry, or $47.97. And then they come on the call one day with all of us trainers. My wife was like the 4th trainer in the whole company.
Yeah.
Like when they were, this was like she was there 2 years before me. And they come there and they were talking about, oh yeah, we've sold over 1 million of this program. And my wife created it for $209. That's what they paid her. And then they wanted to create another program. And she was like, well, wait a second.
Better get a rip. Yeah.
Can I get 5%?
At least.
And they were like, absolutely not. We'll give you $500. And she's like, well,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it for that. And then, as anything, when you tell the powers that be no, then they're kind of like, well, then we'll just use somebody else.
Sure.
So she kind of started fading. And then she was supposed to be the head trainer, and then she didn't get that. Of course, they openly came on, and this is the first time I ever told this part of the story, but we actually have audio of them telling her they didn't give her the job because she was pregnant. And I was kind of like, dang. I was like, y'all pretty bold to say that directly, but we were outside contractors. We didn't actually work for the company.
Yeah.
So basically, they sent us clients. We facilitated for the clients, and that was the thing. Like you see a lot of these people talk really bad about V-Shred because of
the whole
some of the other stuff.
Yeah.
But all the trainers are like super qualified.
Didn't Jeremy Buendia, wasn't he with you guys for a long time?
I don't know if I know him. I mean, there was like by the end.
That was
of
my
it,
world, so I'll go
by
down a
the end
rabbit
of it,
hole.
there was 75, 80 trainers by the end
Yeah.
of it. And some of them were, I mean, we had Olympia champions. I mean,
Yeah.
Stacey
No, well, Buendia is now, too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He
So,
won.
yeah.
He won like 6 years in a row. He's
Well, I
from
was,
my backyard.
what's his name that won this past year? Nick,
Oh, the big boy from New York?
yeah,
Oh,
no, the
I
one
don't
from Indiana. He
don't know.
won this past year. He won Mr. Olympia overall. He, I can't think of his name right now.
The only
Anyways,
I thought he was a Jersey boy, but he's a monster.
Yeah, he's huge.
Nick Walker.
Derek Lunsford is who I'm thinking about.
Oh, Derek Lunsford.
Lunsford.
Yeah, Lunsford.
His stepmom was one of my clients, and I trained. And she was like, "Yeah." She goes, "You probably know my stepson." I was like, "Who?" And she told me that. I was like, "Why would you need my advice if your stepson is?"
So I moved here.
She ain't trying to be like him.
When I moved out here from SoCal 3 years ago, I lived in like the mecca of the bodybuilding world, and I used to do that whole thing, and
Yeah.
that was like my life. And I was like, I'll get away from it. I'll get more CrossFitty or whatever. And then you come out here. Because Brandon Curry, is in Murfreesboro.
Brandon's great, yeah.
Right, so like, and then
My wife wanted me
C-Bum's
to
always
train
out
muscle.
here. So Bumstead's always out here.
Yeah.
He's good friends with Brent Laffey, who owns Carbon Culture right here.
Yeah.
The big one, right? The one they just bought out Franklin Athletic Club.
What's the other
so
guy? Tiger Fitness. What's that guy's name?
Yeah.
Lobeliner.
Yeah. Katie and what's his name? I can't remember his first name. Eric? He'll
Mark?
kill me.
Mark.
Yep, there you go, Mark.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mark.
All that to say, there's more professional like bodybuilders out here than like Southern California. I know. We'll go down a rabbit hole. We'll stop. We'll go down.
Oh no, I love it. I mean, that's after Biggest Loser, I started training with this guy named Seth Cabb, and Jared trained with us some too. But I started training for bodybuilding because I'm like, I want to get as lean as I can and this and that. Well, then as I started getting leaner, my strength wasn't what I was used to being, but I started looking better, and then I got down to about 238 pounds, which for me is that's light for me.
Yeah.
And I was still strong and I looked good, but I wasn't near the size of these guys. And I'm like, dude, I'm as strong as some of them, or most of them, But I said, but I can't, I don't look like they do. And that's when Seth introduced me and said, well, he's like, I take this and I take that.
You need to put a needle in your butt right now. Yeah.
He's like,
Matter of fact, just get like an IV drip and just walk around with it.
He's like, dude, he's like, I'm on, I remember what it was.
He's like, let me tell you what I'm not on. It'll be a shorter list. Yeah.
And so I was like, okay. So then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go back to the strength side of things and started focusing on strongman and was actually training. When I tore out this ankle, I was training for a strongman competition. And I deadlifted 700 pounds and I thought I was the greatest man in the world and was peacocking. And then my wife looks at me and she goes, hey, we're going to run sprints. You want to join us? And I'm like, no, I just deadlifted 700 pounds. She goes, yeah, we're going to race anyway. And then ego kicked in.
And then ego comes in, yeah.
In my nice lifting shoes, I decided to race her and her little bodybuilding friends, and I lost on my birthday.
Wow.
So she finished the race before she come back to check on me, but it just tore her out. Yeah, it wasn't like, you remember, that was that Garth Brooks standing outside the fire, and they come back and they stop and they pick up the kid, that fell.
Well, I mean, she can't really pick you up.
That's true.
So, I mean, that was a smart thing for her to do.
Yeah, she's
Finished the
85
race and
pounds,
come
so
back.
Yeah,
Right.
she finished the race.
Did she win the race?
She would have won anyway, yeah.
Oh, okay.
She weighs 100 pounds. So she's she had placed, so she won the Flex Lewis out in Murfreesboro, and then she qualified for a pro card, and then she went to junior nationals, and then she got like 15th there, so she didn't get her pro card, and then I got her pregnant, and that was the last time she competed, because right when she was ready to get back in competitive mode, I got her pregnant again.
You showed her, yeah.
I showed her.
She's still strong as can be in a great
Yeah,
shape.
she's pound for pound. I mean, it's crazy to see a lot of times when we're training and stuff.
Where do y'all train at?
We have a full gym in our garage
okay.
now, but we go to Gold's in Murfreesboro is where I normally go. But at the time, we were at Southside Strength over in Franklin.
Yep.
And
I got a buddy there, Cody.
yeah. Yeah, I got a few of the Luke, the guy that owns it, is a good buddy, and then Adam Dirks, who's one of the strongest men. He's competed in the world's strongest man. I kind of brought them together to team up on that gym after I had left and stuff. Right. But anyways, yeah, I could go down a rabbit hole with that.
Yeah, no,
too,
we're taking over.
Speaking of rabbit holes here, we're at a time spot right now.
Yeah, we just keep
that
going.
we either need to
Have
wrap
to.
up and let him actually talk about
yeah.
what he needs to talk about, or
I don't need to talk about
or
nothing,
we
man.
have a to be continued.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can chat.
No, we're definitely going to have him on again.
I live 7 minutes from here.
I mean,
so.
can we just have him on right now? Can
you
we
live
just
here.
clip this? Can he end this episode and just start a whole new episode right now?
Yeah, let's run it.
That's up to you.
Oh, I'm good. I'm totally good.
You good? We'll
I mean,
end this thing.
Jim in the corner. I
You
don't
want me
know.
to end it and then just start another one, or do we just want to have
Yeah,
don't
just
know what
part
you
two,
wanna do.
part
yeah.
one, part two?
Hey guys, next episode is part 2. Something like that.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of this this episode.
Say less.
And I hope you learned a lot, but I promise you in the next episode you're going to learn a lot more because we're going to keep our boy right here in this seat and we're going to talk about his program and all this other kind of stuff. But what I want you to know is that you need to like, subscribe, give us 5, 10, 15, 15 and a half, 5,000 stars, whatever you can give us. Tell your mom and them, let them know that we're on the interwebs. So, follow us.
The interweb?
YouTube.
On the line.
That's his new phrase. It's interweb. I'm not sure.
I'm trying to sound as old redneck as I can, okay?
And
with
you
that
just,
said-
you just put a the before internet.
Yes.
That's all
The-
you do.
the interwebs.
internets.
The internet.
So we can't even go off air when we're trying to go off air. Bye, everybody.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what is the outer net.